What could drive me at 22 years old to suddenly leave the only religion that I ever knew and to face extreme consequences, to possibly lose all my friends, to cause division in my family, and to see my mom crying and depressed every day? Hey everyone, my name is Elja Karang, and this is my story of why I left the Iglesia Ni Cristo and became a committed follower of Christ. Let me just start out this video by saying that I love every single Iglesia Ni Cristo member. I have a heart for each and every person there. I mean, after all, that's what I grew up into. That's the only religion I ever knew. A lot of the friends that I had in that church, we grew up together. I admire the passion, dedication, and faithfulness of every single member to God. What I'm most thankful for is that I was able to know of God right from the start of my life, and I was able to learn God's teachings and His commandments. My mom was born and raised into the church through her parents, and my dad was a Baptist until he met my mom and got converted into the church. My family and I were extremely active in the church, and we each held an office. My dad was a head deacon at one point, my mom was a secretary, my sister is currently a choir member, and I was a choir member. I was a former Binhi president, and I served in the children's worship service. Like many of you watching this video, I was dedicated, I was zealous, and I was even willing to die for the church. Throughout my life, two things stuck out to me. One was to have an open mind always, and to be humble when it comes to learning. A few days after I got baptized in the church, my dad told me, "Son, a lot of the things that you're hearing from the church, they're not true." I was shocked. I always looked up to my dad. I always respected my dad. What he said to me, it really got me questioning, got me curious. And I just remember sitting there and just thinking of the possibility that what my dad said was true. Also, I just want to make it clear that my dad and I only spoke about that topic one time. Over time, as I began to go to every single worship service, I got more and more convinced that the Iglesia Ni Cristo was the true Church of Christ in these last days. But I always kept an open mind to the possibility that what my dad said that day. My dad was a huge note taker, and he used to always bring his Bible to the church during the services. And looking up to my dad, I also did the same thing. As you all know, it's a rarity for someone to bring their Bible. We're not encouraged to bring our Bible. I've always found it strange as a Bible-believing church to not be encouraged to bring a Bible during service. From my experience, only 2 or 3 people outside of myself also brought their Bibles during my entire membership. When I was an adult choir member, the leader at the time actually spoke to me after worship service because I was bringing my Bible, and they told me that it was a distraction for me to read the Bible in the choir loft. And I recall another moment where I was in a Bible study, and one of the ministers actually told me those exact same words midway during the Bible study. A few years later, the choir leader who stopped me from reading the Bible actually moved, and a new choir leader replaced that person. And so I stuck my Bible in and to see what would happen this time with the new leadership, and I actually wasn't stopped. I was following along in every service. I love to take notes, and I would read verse by verse and follow everything that the minister was preaching. One day, I decided to read the entire context of the Bible, not just the verse that was read, but the entire chapter. I just wanted to learn the whole story of each verse that was being read. Reading that way, I started to notice contradictions of what the minister was preaching compared to what the Bible was saying and what I was reading with my eyes. Here are a few examples. I saw verses about Jesus' deity, about salvation through grace, through faith, and not through God saving a church. I saw contradictions with the prophecies of Brother Felix Y. Manalo. I began to notice that they were about somebody completely different, and that it was actually already fulfilled. I saw verses about the Jews. Supposedly in the Iglesia Ni Cristo we replaced the Jews. I will make another video in depth about each and every one of these topics. Even as a dedicated member of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, I had a huge anger problem, pride. I was judgmental. I struggled with unforgiveness. I had problems with sexual immorality and lusting. When I would sin and when I would fail God, I remember just running away, avoiding praying to God. I remember just always being in fear that if Jesus were to return, I wouldn't be worthy enough to go to heaven because in the Iglesia Ni Cristo I was taught that it's based on my works. It's based on what I do to be worthy enough. I remember appearing perfect on Wednesdays and Sundays, but outside of church days, I remember being worldly, being heavily influenced by the things of the world, by the music I listened to, the movies and videos that I watched. I also remember not having clear direction in my life outside of my duties in church. That's how I lost my faith in the Iglesia Ni Cristo. I was seeking truth. I shared this with a couple people in the church with me that would sit with me, and we would actually bring our Bibles together and read along and discuss these topics. Lizelle, my girlfriend at the time, we were in a long-distance relationship. I was planning on telling her and sharing with her all the stuff that I came to learn in the Bible, but I was afraid of the drama with our families and the conflict, and also that she might break up with me because of what I would share with her. One day, Lizelle shared with me after church how she felt hurt, and she shared an experience that she had. I was upset. Even though I planned to tell her later, I just couldn't hold it in. And so I told her what I had learned, and I shared with her. Surprisingly, she was open-minded, and I shared with her the things that I've been learning, some of the verses, and she was hungry. And she said, share with me some more. It was at that point we were able to be on this journey together to seek the truth. Lizelle and I both decided to wait till we're married and then start attending a new church together. But there was a time where Lizelle shared with me there was no peace inside her when she would attend the services, and she was just so hungry to learn the truth. And I remember protesting and saying, wait for me, I want to go to a new church with you and experience it with you. But Lizelle was stubborn at the time, and she actually decided to attend a new church, and I agreed. I let her go. I started thinking for myself, I should try too. So I waited for Lizelle. She visited me from LA. We attended a different church for the first time together, and I just remember it being a beautiful thing. I remember just lifting my hands and praising God. So I would attend the Iglesia Ni Cristo services first in the morning, and then immediately after that I would go straight to the other church. In the Iglesia Ni Cristo services, I would actually not even pay attention anymore at that point. I would just read the Bible, and I used that time to just learn. I just noticed in that time I was learning so much more in the small span of time than I ever did in my entire life as an Iglesia Ni Cristo member. I was compromising. I was attending both of them. I just hit a point where I had to make a decision, and I knew my mom would be devastated. I knew that my family would be torn apart, and I know consequences that would happen, and I was just terrified. I wasn't ready to fully commit to leaving the Iglesia Ni Cristo. So one day I went to visit Lizelle in LA, and we went to her church that she's been attending together for the first time. This experience was powerful. The pastor he's just a straight shooter. He doesn't beat around the bush, and he was just preaching to not compromise. And I remember a Bible verse about Jesus saying, if you love your father or mother more than me, you're not worthy of me. He was just preaching about just going all in for God and be willing to sacrifice everything. And he talked about the apostles to follow Jesus. They left their family, where they lived, their job, career, and it just, in that moment, I was just so motivated and fired up. I made a decision right then and there that I was never going to attend an Iglesia Ni Cristo service ever again, and I was just on fire and just ready to just be willing to face anything, just to be like the apostles, just to face whatever, and for God to do. These apostles, they died, for what they believed in. Fast forward to today, and the condition of my life is completely better. The anger problem that I struggled with throughout my whole life, my childhood, everything, that is gone. Problems of sexual immorality and lusting, that doesn't have control over me anymore. I'm not judgmental. I'm just filled with so much love and so much peace in my life. As a follower of Christ, I know my purpose now. Not just, to attend church and to just fulfill your duties and to be content with, yourself and your family, but it goes beyond that. It's sharing this with the entire world, spreading the good news of Christ and the good things that He's done in your life, and wanting to share that with people so that they can have salvation and they can have joy and happiness in this life right now. Part of your identity as a Christian is to have freedom from fear. When I was afraid of not being worthy enough to be saved, now what I've learned is Salvation is in the Bible. It's not about what I can do. It's not about what I've done. It can never be about that because no one is worthy. It's about what Jesus Christ has done for us when they put their faith in Christ. Now I obey and I follow God's commandments, not out of fear of being punished, but because I love God and because following His commands leads me away from the consequences of committing the sins. My wife and I, as a result of our pride and my anger issues, we would argue 3 times a week, or we would argue a lot. You know, we were always loving and all that, but when we would get into an argument, it would get crazy. And nowadays, I can just say so gladly that as a result of the transformation in our heart because of what God has done, Lizelle and I, we probably argued like once a month now. It's just been amazing, you know? So not only does that carry over into our relationship, it carries out into every single relationship that we have with other people. We came across this thing called apologetics, and basically what it is teaching Christians how to defend their faith and also to prove God's existence. When I went to apologetics, my faith in God was already strong, but it became unshakable because what I came to learn, you know, is that there is definitive proof that God exists. There are so many things. Also, just my life transformation in itself, you know, is enough to believe in God because of the place where I came from and to where I am now. So this church that we're going to, along with this ministry that we attend, they've really just retrained and reshaped our thinking about who God is, about our identity, about the devil. What we've come to learn is that God, you know, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And the same miracles that were written in the Bible, those same miracles can happen today. We're so hungry, we've come to learn about these things, and I have to say we've actually experienced miracles for ourselves. I'll share one miracle. My dog he got injured. He was outside in the backyard, and his nail was completely off. And so, you know, initially my response was like, oh, I gotta call the vet. My wife and I were there, Lizelle. I called the vet, we scheduled an appointment. But then I was like, you know, what I'm learning, God can heal my dog. Let me believe in God to do what He says He would do. I prayed for my dog. You know, I asked God, I spoke healing into my dog's little nail. And I kid you not, I turn around for like a minute or whatever. I don't know, I was doing something else. I come back, a minute later, I look and his nail is completely there. And Lizelle was there to witness it. And we called the vet, we canceled the appointment. That's just one of the many miracles that we started to see. Pastors have spoken prophecies over us. And people that I haven't met before, speaking things about me that were in my mind that there was no way they could possibly know. And just these things that I thought weren't possible as a Christian, or that was just reserved for the past. I now know that those same things can happen now. We just have to believe in that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and the reason I'm sharing this video is because salvation and eternity is on the line. And I just can't contain it. I have to share it. You know, my love for you guys is so strong. My passion in life is to help Iglesia Ni Cristo members come to truth and to help Christians to just go all in for God. If you found this video helpful, like this video, subscribe, and I'm going to be putting more content and more videos about these topics. Don't forget to share this video with your friends in the Iglesia Ni Cristo. And thank you guys for watching, and God bless you guys.